Hello, everybody. This is Angelique again with part three of the invisible patterns blocking soulmate love, even for the most conscious spiritual singles. So, in this specific episode, I will be focusing on the inner invisible partner, the inner beloved. This specific topic has been one of the most fascinating subjects for myself because when I was, I think I was quite young. I was even like, I think I was not even 30, I believe. I was reading the books of Carl Jung, and then I discovered The Invisible Lovers. And why was I reading and studying the books of Carl Jung? Because I was really struggling in love. I was successful in everything except in love. So this is why I felt, okay, maybe this psychoanalytical stuff could actually help me. And so when I then studied the Animus and Anima, the inner invisible partner within the masculine and the feminine, or even in, the other types of relationship, not just heterosexual ones, I really became so fascinated with the archetypal patterns and dynamics. And so when I then also, because of difficulties in my own love life, I decided to study family constellations. My first course ever that I ran was actually a course called Meeting the Lovers Within. And this course was live. It was run in London. It was in a yoga room near Liverpool Street. And I had live participants, and it was the most amazing course that I ran with so many transformations. It was week on week on week. We were not just studying the concepts, but we were also doing the body work. We were doing the collective consciousness work. So I will share some of the testimonials of that course because I actually found them on my laptop, and they were really amazing. And also the angels have guided me over and over again to really study and teach this subject. And I think if you are going to follow me and listen to the what I'm going to share, you're going to see why we need this right now. We as a collective need this work because there is so much shadow going on in relationships, so much shadow projection, so much shadow possession, and so much entanglement transgenerationally. So so what are we going to do? We're going to explain what the animus anima is. We're going to look at the main patterns, the biggest dynamics that happen, and we're going to relate it to the attraction mirror audit. And we're going to give some examples. So again, I want to inspire you about possibility, and I want to help you, enable you to see patterns so that you are not blind to the patterns. So at the It Is Done Love community, I help you break the cycle of heartbreak and manifest love from your soul's true identity, not your wounds. And I really thought long and hard about this because this is what I had to overcome for myself. And so I believe that this is the mission of the It Is Done Love community that I am building. So so let's start with an introduction. You've done the healing, you have grown. So why does love still repeat the same patterns over and over again? Because you don't fall in love with the real person. You fall in love with your unconscious inner partner. Inside you lives an inner beloved, your animus or your anima. This hidden template chooses who is the one. So the animus and anima, what is it? You fall in love with an inner invisible partner that is within you. When someone is can carry your animus and anima, you feel that spark, that instant recognition. But here's the trap. You're projecting your own unconscious qualities onto them rather than seeing who they actually are. And the projected psychic images are the invisible partners in every relationship. It influences the relationship. and especially the person who carries to projection, is greatly overvalued or undervalued. And the human reality of the individual carrying a projection for us is obscured by the projected image. So we don't even see who the other person is. So they're very numinous, these archetypes. So they're very powerful because they have a lot of psychic energy and a lot of potential in them that we cannot access unless we project it. And this is why they can grip us emotionally. They create all the, the Shakespearean and operatic dramas and betrayals and there's a lot of things happening with the archetypes. We know that already, but even in the Animus and Anima, it's like tenfold because there's a lot of shadow aspects in it. So the Animus Anima as archetypes have a magnetic effect on us, and the person who carries to projection greatly attracts us or repels us. So, projection, what is projection? It is an unconscious mechanism of unconscious content. So, you don't project conscious contents, you can only project unconscious contents because if it was conscious, you would just see the person and you would just see it as reality. But because it is unconscious, you don't even understand that it is your projection. So it is the so-called contrasexual element within us, which is so psychologically elusive that it escapes our awareness, and therefore it must be projected, at least in part. So, and when you really think about it, if you're born as a woman with female hormones, or you're born as a man with masculine hormones, it's so hard to understand the other sex, and this is why there's so much unconscious contents, and the only way that we can relate to this, let's say this person from Mars or this person from Venus, is through projection, right? So this is of course coming from that famous book, Men Are From Mars and Women Are From Venus, for those of you who are old enough to know John Gray. So, and because it's about projection and it's about our own unconscious material, we have to do this inner work. Until this inner lover becomes conscious, attraction feels like fate. And when you meet your inner beloved, it stops projection. So when I say when you meet your inner beloved, we're talking about the inner work that we need to do to withdraw our projections. And it is not about finding the one. So a lot of people are trying to find love. They're trying to find soulmate love. They're trying to find the love of their life, their twin flame. I don't know what. They're always looking outside. But what if the journey, the biggest journey you have to make is about meeting the one within? And so you're going to love this series if you are ready for conscious love and not fantasy, but you are ready for real alignment. So stay tuned. So, apart from projection, there is another dynamic that comes into play, and this is talking about the split in the animus and the anima. And this is when we have two polarized, conflicting images or archetypes that are projected onto different people and sometimes on the same person. So this often comes from unresolved parental complexes. And instead of integration, the psyche starts to split it and start to project it. So what happens then is that we are either going to develop strong feelings of, we call it love, but let's call it attachment or infatuation, and we idealize or we devalue. So let's give an example. So when you have for instance, a split animus, we're talking about a woman here, you have often a father complex, and the split is either the idealized man, which is a protector, a provider, a rescuer, a teacher, some kind of figure that you read about, or some kind of person that you put on a pedestal. And on the other hand, you have the other split, which is the negative animus, the betrayer, the abandoner, the predator, the negative shadow part of masculine. Yeah. So when you have them not integrated into you, you're going to have a mixed bag of feelings regarding the masculine, which is on the one hand for the idealized people or projections, you're going to have admiration. And for the other parts, you're going to have distrust or maybe even contempt, right? So this, if you do not integrate it, you might even attract it into your life through awakenings that have to do with betrayal narratives or love triangles. And love triangles happen very often when people have a split animus and split anima. And there's so many millions of examples of this. Like literally a lot of the love triangles you see are literally about the split animus and anima. And this is something that I go deeper into in my membership, my school membership, which is the premium membership, which is only 88 euros per month, excluding VAT. And basically, that is where I really go deep into these things so that you understand the pattern. So, if you look at the split animus, there is a very famous movie that I absolutely love and that my clients absolutely love. Like and this love triangle archetypal dynamic um, comes, it is in multiple movies, but this one is, I think, the one that gripped me the most, and it is called The Phantom of the Opera. This specific movie with Gerard Butler and these super beautiful, like amazing actors and actresses and singers, and they really portrayed this specific archetypal triangle so well. So we don't have the time today to really delve deep into this archetypal triangle, but you can see that, there's an idealized, person archetype that is very dark, that is sexual, that is even living in the subconscious mind, in the, under the ground. And then you have the normal person who is more like a regular person that you can relate to, right? And so this specific movie actually teaches us that when we have all these really unconscious contents that are ours and that we cannot relate to, that we then actually have to find a person that can carry that projection. And the real person that is in front of us, we don't even see them because they cannot carry the projection. And sometimes it's also not just about somebody carrying the projection. It is something that we're looking. It's almost like the person that can grip us so much, that can fascinate us and can draw us in so magnetically. That person is completing us in terms of our wholeness. And so the person that we have in our life, let's say a person that you have a relationship with, or the person that is absolutely, there's nothing wrong with this person. They're absolutely beautiful and perfect for you, but you might have a shadow part of you that you haven't lived out. And then you have to find this shadow part and live it out in, let's say, another type of relationship. It could be an affair, or it could be something that is, that cannot stand the daylight. And this is why we have so many difficult, like painful relationships in love. So many people betray each other. And that I think it is because of this dynamic. People are not open about it. People are ashamed of it. People don't openly discuss it. And this, I feel, has been a large part of the archetypal pain between the sexes or between people in love, not even just in heterosexual relationship. And I think this teaching, when we really make it more broader, people will understand it and they don't have to let the shadow play out in so much destruction. Yeah. So the split anima for men has another element, which is it is more the split is more coming from what we call the classic Madonna whore split. And so you have the idealized, pure, woman that is almost like angelic. She is a muse, and maybe she is more like she carries more purity type of archetypal characteristics. And then they have on the other side the sexualized, devalued woman that they can objectify. And so this happens, of course, when men cannot differentiate between their archetypal unconscious contents and the real person in front of them. And then what happens is when they then love a woman, and this is something that I have experienced in my own life in relationships, this is something that I had to heal. When men fell in love with me, they loved me as the idealized pure person. And then they couldn't really see the, let's say, the sexual woman in me. So this is a pattern that I actually had to heal within myself. And it was very painful. And at one point, I also started attracting clients coming to me that had this specific archetypal split in them as women, and then attracting men that had the same pattern. So to me, that also showed me this is a really important split. It is something that a lot of women they dare not talk about it. They're very ashamed of it. And I'm beyond the shame now. I really know that this happens quite a lot, and this happens in marriages, this happens in relationships. And actually, I think the more aware and conscious a woman is, there is a bigger chance that she will be playing the so she will be carrying the projection of the idealized pure woman, whereas another woman will carry the sexual fantasy. And I think this is doing a disservice to both, the both sexes. It is doing a disservice to the women who are embodying and the sexual characteristics plus the intellectual, spiritual, powers that a woman can also have. And so this is a very painful split that men carry, but that when we experience this split happening in our own lives, you have to look within. There's no merit in trying to blame your lover or blame your husband or blame the men in your life. It is very important that you look inside. And this is something that I had to heal for myself. And so it's yeah, so I can actually, when I'm teaching this, I really come from experience. I laugh now, but it was very painful when I was in it, I can tell you. So what do we do to heal the split? You have to withdraw projections. You have to withdraw the projection or your own one-sided identification with just, let's say, the idealized woman and then you cast your shadow away. I'm not the whore. Maybe there's something of the whore that you need to own back and taking back that responsibility of what's going on in your life and how the splits are actually affecting you is very, very healing. So, so a lot of women they disown the whore, and of course in a patriarchal society, we have been taught to be good girls, and of course when you're not a good girl, you become a whore, and you literally could be punished for that. But the whore, of course, has been disowned in a lot of women. And so when the men are having their sexual energy siphoned into, let's say, this pleasure with, what they call the sexual anima in them, but they cannot integrate it into a relationship with, let's say, the mother or the girlfriend, the mother of their children or the girlfriend in their lives, then we have a very important split here that where we need to look into our wholeness. We need to look into the disowned parts of the men and the women and in ourselves. And we need to look at how we can heal this again. So this is very, very deep work. This is not easy work. It goes much further than sexuality. It's really about so much content. Every person will have a slightly different dynamic in their lives, but it is definitely one that causes a lot of pain and a lot of suffering. and a lot of blame and a lot of resentment. But if you're here, you're probably not going to go there because you know that that doesn't help. So when I was studying family constellations, that was in 2007. So that was 18 years ago. It was because I had done a lot of healing trainings regarding energy healing, chakra healing, and of course I was studying the Jungian work. I never graduated as a Jungian analyst. I decided not to graduate, but I have been in analysis and in the trainings and the studies for almost 10 years. I studied all the books and all the myths. I was able to see the entanglement transgenerationally. Of course, I was informed by Bert Hellinger's work, and I was doing all the family constellation workshops, and I was in training myself. And whatever I saw as the archetypal movements, I could completely see that they were autonomous. They were autonomous. So basically, even if you have a lot of consciousness like I had because I was in all the trainings, you can still attract things into your life that are autonomous, meaning they operate outside of your conscious control. That's what I mean. And so you knowing everything doesn't protect you from not having to undergo these lessons, or let's call them initiations or transformations. And this is exactly what I went through. And so I believe that the initiations or the transformations that I had to go through, they had to do with inherited unconscious relational patterns. So this split between the Madonna and the whore was definitely from my culture. It was definitely from my ancestors. And it was definitely in the country where I was born, which is in South America. And I could see how sometimes you attract partners that can help you live out to make this pattern aware. These autonomous complexes become aware in your psyche at least, and then you can free yourself from the possession. And so what is this possession? We're going to go into that. It sounds a bit scary. So I don't know whether you guys know this Netflix series. This is an amazing Netflix series. So, in 2007, we didn't have Netflix. We didn't even have, we didn't have a lot of information about family constellations in the, mass consciousness. Right now in Netflix, you can watch a series called Another Self. If you look at the transgenerational component, you can see that throughout the whole series, you can actually see how transgenerationally we are affected by the dynamics of our ancestors, of our grandmother that we've never met, of, maybe the uncle that we've never met. And so sometimes when we look into our lives at what type of autonomous complexes or unfinished business that we need to heal, we need to do some digging. And sometimes it is very, very moving to see how we are actually so connected to people that we've never met or people that we hardly even know. And so, and also when you look at the relationship between these two figures, you can easily see he is the son of the family constellation facilitator in the movie. Sorry for spoiling it if you haven't seen the movie yet or the series yet, but there's a very fascinating pattern between him and his anima. And so when you watch the series and you are in my class, you'll understand it because I'll explain it. But it is so fascinating to see how, you know, um, the experiences that we have, they absolutely paint, they make us into who we are, and we cannot really escape them. We have to confront them, we have to face them with compassion, and we have to heal them. So I mentioned the word possession. What is possession? You can be possessed by the anima or animus. And this is when your ego is overwhelmed or taken over by the anima or animus, which means you are no longer consciously relating to the anima or animus within you. You are being run by it. So what does this mean? So, and unfortunately, I have to say that I see this a lot for both sexes, especially nowadays that we have social media and everybody feels entitled to be like, vomiting their prejudice about each other openly on the social media platforms and to, accuse each other. And so basically, what is animus possession in women? So the animus, the negative, often the negative animus in a woman comes out as rigid opinions. She's overly argumentative. She's driven by abstract beliefs. She is emotionally disconnected but morally certain. And she speaks in absolute truths. Men always. It's just the truth that blah, blah, blah. So those of you who have studied and worked with me, you will immediately see a lot of seven toxic ways of being in all of these narratives here. And of course, when you look at the David Hawkins scale, this person is definitely in pride. And pride, when people are in the consciousness of pride, they can never see the truth of another person. They're always going to be feeling morally superior. And so when you are in that state of consciousness, you will be coming from either a stance of I am morally superior, you must be inferior, or oh my God, I'm so inferior and I'm not good enough for this person on that pedestal, right? So the truth is that I see this happen a lot, even with a lot of women who are spiritually doing the work. And then they start to have narratives about men not being emotionally aware, men not doing their spiritual work, men not being emotionally communicative or not being as sensitive or what is it, having as much insight about their own inner workings as they do. So this is, I feel, a very, very, what is it, a very hidden pattern that keeps you stuck. And in the framework that I work with, we call this an invisible red flag. And it is an invisible red flag because it is a red flag. The red flag is about you, the person who is doing it, but it is invisible because it feels right. Yeah. And so, part one, I talk way more about invisible red flags. And in part four of the series, I will tell you exactly what the invisible red flags are so that you can really see them and then you can do something about it. So, women who are possessed by their animus, they become dogmatic and they become overpowered, you know. It doesn't sound really good, right? And if this was a man, it wouldn't sound good. So it also doesn't sound good when it is a woman. But I can really say, I was probably one of these women. I definitely can sometimes still fall back into the pattern. But then because I can recognize it, I can stop myself. But it happens way less because I know what it is. And I definitely, but if you confront people with it, they are definitely not happy, unless, of course, they pay me money and they work with me. This is something that a lot of people don't want to see, and because they think this is just them, but it's not them. It is they are actually possessed by the negative animus. And anima possession in men comes in a different form. And you can definitely also recognize this when you meet these men. So these men become emotionally reactive. They are moody. They are overwhelmed by feeling states. They are irrationally jealous, or they feel very, very insecure about their value or their own worth. They are putting women on pedestals very often, or they're romantic fantasy driven, and they're victim oriented. They're not victors. So instead of relating to the feelings, they are actually flooded by them and they literally don't know how to regulate themselves. So these men are overwhelmed by their anima. And of course, they're going to blame a woman or, another person that is in their life for it. So you can absolutely see, when Jung was creating this was quite like some time ago. I wouldn't say that you only have anima possession in men. You can probably also have anima possession in women, and vice versa. So you can have animus possession in men as well. But I think for this specific model, I think it's easy to keep the polarities divided so that you can really use the same terminology as Carl Jung would. So last week I talked about the attraction mirror, and I probably would say that this projection, possession, entanglement, and split, they are often going to happen below 200 because 200 is where people take responsibility, and people only take responsibility if they start to have awareness and they start to take back what they believe is true because they start to see that they are also part of the solution and the problem. And so mostly people tend to stay in projections, split anima, animus, possession, and entanglement if they are so possessed by the feelings, so captivated by the conscious, unconscious contents that start flooding them, that they cannot even get out of these states. This is when people are going to be living out these dynamics in it is in what we call the force zone. And the higher the chemistry is, the more what is it, addictive it becomes, and the more it becomes like a drama. In the mixed chemistry, I already said in part two, in mixed chemistry, you have a specific pattern, which I will explain later, which is you have you first project the positive and then you start to project the negative. So, so yeah, so let's go back to soulmate love. If we have a soulmate in the field of infinite potential, in the field of infinite possibility, it already exists. How do we then recognize the one? If every time we meet somebody and we hardly know anything about them and we think they are the one, it was love at first sight, and oh my God, yeah, I saw this person, she must be the one or he must be the one because he made me feel this way. Are these things reliable or trustworthy? You can only answer from your own experience. Some people are lucky. They meet these people. It is love at first sight from both sides, and it is the one. Yeah, whatever that means. And they might have other issues that they're born with that they have to resolve in this life. But for most people, we know now that when we're in high chemistry and we have all these projections, as you've just learned, we really don't even see that person in front of us. So, what do we need to do? We need to understand things about chemistry. We need to understand that it is often in the fourth zone where we are really having a lot of projections and unconscious contents playing out. And when we then find ourselves in the power zone, which is we take responsibility and we're learning the lessons and we're going into therapy, we're going into courses, this is where we're going to take back our power and withdraw projections. And we're going to forgive ourselves and we're going to forgive our parents. We're going to forgive the people that were the karmic teachers. And then when we have done the work, we can actually integrate more and more and more until we become more whole, we become more unconditionally loving, and we become even grateful for the difficult initiations. And then you're very close to what I call the receiving zone. And the receiving zone is where you're more aligned with your soul. Nothing can be given to you, nothing can be taken from you because you're more unified and aligned and identified with your soul identity. And it shows in a lot of the choices you make, in a lot of the ways that you can actually regulate your nervous system and how you can show up in the way that you catch yourself going unconscious and you grab yourself back. And those people who are living in the receiving zone, they manifest miracles and blessings. And in part one, I explained how Elle and I experienced that, that my former business partner and I, we literally in 6 months took the journey from the force zone into the power zone. And then within 6 months, we were in the receiving zone. Within 2 weeks of each other, we manifested our current husband and fiance, the father of her twins. And it was so miraculous. There were so many synchronicities that were mind-blowing. And I will do a masterclass about the receiving zone because it is so magical, so beautiful. And I really want to help inspire you all to actually understand that it is absolutely possible because Elle and I were for decades, we were here, decades, yeah, maybe lifetimes. And so we really believe that there are the universe operates by laws. It is not like a fluke. It's not like good luck, you know? It is really knowing how to recognize the stages of consciousness that you're in, the patterns that you run, changing them around, practicing new habits, and then aligning yourself more and more with your soul's true identity. And that is the work that I'm teaching. Yeah. So let's go into this favorite topic when we are talking about this specific, Animus Anima body of work. Let's talk about falling in love. Yeah. I'm not going to go into this boring subject called growing in love because nobody's interested in that. Let's understand why we believe we fall in love and how this happens and how so many love songs, so many romantic comedies and dramatic, documentaries have been made about this type of obsessive falling in love. So, what happens? We have positive aspects of our inner invisible lover, anima animus, and we project it onto another person that then becomes highly desirable. We are fascinated, drawn to this person that can carry it, and they become the source of happiness and bliss. And they are also becoming the object of our fantasy and longings, whether it's erotic or not. And actually, the trap is that we only see them as we want them to be. This is why it is in capital letters. So, on the other side, the person carrying the projection has power over us. Yeah. So they literally can make or break us in this specific stage of infatuation. So how does this work? So if we take these two people as what we call the persona of a person, and Jung calls the persona of a person the part of us that we want to show the world, yeah? And I made this beautiful woman wear a mask because it is a mask. I'm going to show you what you want to see because that is what I want to see. And all the rest I cast into shadow. I cast into my unconscious mind. I disown them. I don't want to see them because I want to be, I am the persona to be accepted in this world. So this is the same with the men because men have to be heroic. They have to be the provider. And so basically the persona of the man and the woman, they don't know most of the time that they have an inner beloved, but they have an idealized inner beloved. And most of us have this vision of what ideal love would look like, what soulmate love, twin flame love would feel like, right? We don't know what it looks like, but we often knows what it feels like. It feels like falling in love. Why? Because we're projecting the idealized version of our animus or anima onto the other person. So this man here has a persona. He sees himself a specific way because this is how he's going to be accepted and not excluded by the social circles that he's in. This is how he's conditioned to survive or to be successful. He has an idealized woman. She's like an angelic being. She's sexual. I don't know what she is, but she's idealized by him. And this idealized person is projected on the person that he meets that can carry this. The same with this idealized animus of this woman, she projects it onto him. This is what happens when we fall in love. This is what happens when I think we actually don't know a lot about a person. But after a few months, we of course start to, cracks start to appear. But let's talk about how it feels to carry a positive projection. Of course, it feels amazing. You are getting a lot of attention, you feel flattered and valued, you feel the power that is given to you. But eventually, the problem starts to begin, which is you feel resentful of not being able to be the real you outside of projection. You feel stifled. You feel that you can only be this to be loved. Yeah. So the shadow side of carrying this positive projection is that you feel that the other person wants you to fulfill and live out the projected image or characteristics. So this is very heavy. And if you've ever had to carry the positive projection for a person, or you projected the positive projection onto another person, you will actually have experienced the power struggle of not being seen or not being validated for the real you. And Carl Jung actually wrote something really creepy about having to carry the positive projection. And in the classes that I run, I will share them with you because he writes about it so vividly that you think, oh my gosh, this is so true. And actually, carrying the positive projection of a person is almost like dying. Yeah. So Carl Jung actually equates it to dying because you have to be this. And if you're not this, sorry, we're not really interested in you. So he actually went, because he's done a lot of work in this field. He compares it to dying. When you have to carry the positive projection for another person, you might as well be dead because the other person isn't interested in you. So I want you to think about this, of how toxic this pattern is. It's not even healthy. Yeah. And if you've lived long enough, for me, and I'm in my mid 50s now, you probably have had enough experience to know that this doesn't work, right? So of course we're human. We don't want to carry any positive projections, and but still we have so many expectations, so many things that we want to control, and so we go into the power struggle after the honeymoon. And the person carrying the projection, they inevitably want to be themselves. And the person that is projecting becomes jealous, resentful, or controlling, or very insecure. Yeah. So for me, when I couldn't control a person because I had a lot of negative animus projections onto the masculine because of my family history and my culture, I had to sabotage. I had to sabotage. So you need to understand what your pattern is. And in the classes that I run in the membership, I have a lot of material for you to actually become aware step by step of all the difficult things that you did to actually protect yourself. And as soon as you know the pattern, you can step out of it. So it can be a very empowering process. Although this is very confronting, it can also be very empowering because you are not hearing what you want to hear, you're hearing what you need to hear so that you can break free. So, what is the pattern of the projection? So, I mentioned it, idealized, the shadow or the negative projections, disowned qualities, or the wounded projections. Yeah. So, that's, I feel that those are the three biggest pattern projections. Um, so we had the idealized one. So, but we also often have a wounded animus or anima. And so this man might have a very wounded feminine anima in him, and he then projects it onto her. And if she can carry it, they'll have a lovely relationship. But imagine that she is not going to not willing to carry the wounded animus. He is going to feel very abandoned because how is he going to relate to this part of him that is actually his inner work? The same with a woman. A woman that has a wounded or immature animus, and when she projects it onto a man and he cannot carry it, she will be looking for a man that can carry it. Because imagine that she has a wounded animus, and then she's going to attract a healthy man, or whatever health means, a man that has done his inner work. He is not going to want to carry your wounded animus. That relationship won't last long, right? So this is really where, when we attract certain dynamics in our relationship, you need to know that the algorithm of the universe is super smart. It will match you with people that can carry and that might not even understand that you're carrying their projection, your projection, because somehow you will be matching. And this is where they say it feels like you have a specific attraction on the conscious level, but actually, the real attraction is between the anima and the animus and the projections that the other person needs to carry for us. Yeah. So we can go much deeper. So, what is going on with a man who has a wounded anima? What is going on with a woman who can carry it or not carry it? There's so many multiple dynamics that can play out, but we don't have time for it because I really don't want to overwhelm people with all the content. So, in part one, we already talked about, the pattern where a lot of people that have done a lot of spiritual work, they tend to have a super idealized anima animus. And then they put this person on a complete pedestal, or nobody can even match up with it. And these people then are, walking around saying, oh, but there's no evolved spiritual singles right for me, not for me because of whatever reason. But actually, it is way more to do with your idealized animus anima than it has to do with the availability or the compatibility of people that could be a match for you if you weren't holding on to this idealized animus anima. And some of you who know me really well, if you have an idealized animus anima, I have probably told you about it. And it was probably very confronting, but it is the biggest gift that you can get because now you can stop idealizing something that is you onto people outside of you. You can integrate it, and then you can actually really free all that energy to meet a person at face value, fall in love or grow in love with the person that is in front of you instead of projecting it onto people that are unavailable. So this specific idealized animus anima dynamic keeps a lot of very conscious, beautiful, spiritual people single and unavailable. Yeah. So I could do a whole webinar just on this specific pattern because I see that so many characteristics of this specific pattern is happening in the collective, but there's a few invisible red flags in this. And I think this could be like one of the first courses that I could run because literally this is what I see all the time. And I know it because I was in there myself, but I can also see that even after now that I've been in a much more stable marriage for a long time, I can see how I was, and because I can see people still running this specific dynamic and program. Yeah. So let's do that one time. I'm going to run that specific workshop. So you can only project the idealized animus if you haven't owned it. And when we're in lower levels of consciousness and in high chemistry, under 200, we are more prone to have the idealized anima animus in the unconscious contents, and we can only relate to another person through projection. So we haven't integrated the idealized anima animus. And this is why, you might have an idealized anima animus. You're not aware of it because you haven't integrated it. You haven't developed a real relationship with your inner anima animus. And then you see all these idealized people out there, and then you think, oh my God, I'm not good enough. I can never have them because, they are this person up there. Or you think, oh, where are they? They don't exist. But you're not even understanding that it is actually your own inner animus anima that you need to develop a relationship with. So, as I said, people think that they fall in love with the real person, but actually it is the anima or animus inside of them that has the huge agenda. This is what the psychoanalysts always call this is the real agenda. This is what's going on. Where we actually believe that we're in control, but we're not in control. Is your unconscious contents of your psyche are in control. So a lot of people, as I said, are also walking around with wounded lovers. So yeah, one of the wounded expressions of the feminine could be the immature man. We call it in the Jungian world, we call it puer aeternus. It's the Peter Pan archetype. And I was always super fascinated by it because, especially when I was younger, I would be super career driven. I was more, let's say, I was more possessed by, let's say, I want to be what modern women call, I became the man that I wanted to marry. So a lot of women probably are gonna laugh about this because this is what happened to us. But actually, then I would be magnetically attracted to immature men. And what do we call immature men? Men that were free, that loved freedom. They couldn't settle down. They couldn't hold down a career. They really wanted their freedom. And this is such a painful pattern, I can tell you, until you know what to do. And I had to do the work because I kept meeting this specific archetype over and over again and I was in analysis then and I thought, what the hell is going on? I better heal this. So in the membership that I run, we're going to go through all these specific archetypes that come in your life, and we're gonna compare them to movies, we're gonna compare them to songs or your questions and to the patterns that you run so that you know how to deal with them. Yeah. So instead of doing this specific cross, which is you're going to project, your animus onto the man, we have to stop doing that. We have to start developing a dialogue and a relationship with our own inner beloved. Yeah, whether it is wounded or immature or idealized or shadow content, it doesn't matter. This is the work that we need to do as men and as women. This is the only way that we can get out of the mess of relationships that we are in. And I can tell you that although I was doing a lot of inner work on a lot of topics, the 6 months before I met my husband, I was doing a lot of work on my animus. I did a lot of Akashic Records work and Theta healing work and ancestral work, subconscious clearing work, on multiple levels to actually clear the negativity that I carried from other lives or other souls or transgenerationally or from the collective into my life around my distrust and my absolute fear of being hurt by men. And I really believe that if I hadn't done that work, I would not have been able to stop disowning the negative in men. And if I kept disowning the negative in men in my psyche, I would still be fearful of it and I would not have been able to heal myself. So, those of you who hear this, and if you can understand it, I don't believe that we can have an integrated wholeness, a true wholeness, unless we work with our inner parts, which are the contrasexual element called the anima or animus. If we do not do that work, we will be fearing the unconscious contents that we have to project onto people outside of us. And this will then be used as an excuse of, oh, relationship is not for me. I can't find anybody or I can't trust men. And literally, this is all within our control. Nobody can control whether or not you are going to work on your inner anima or animus. So this is where I say, if you do the conscious animus work, you are going to be holding hands with your anima or animus. You're gonna lead them. You're gonna integrate them throughout. You know, when we did it in the first class that I ran, which is in Liverpool Street in London so many years ago, it was so beautiful, the work. It was so moving. The work was so deep because when I go deeper into this work and you really start to work with me, you'll see that the animus, your inner animus, wants to meet you. Your inner anima wants to meet you, but you keep projecting it onto complete strangers outside of you. So who is abandoning who? We are abandoning ourselves. Yeah. So if you start to understand that, then this is the deepest work that you can do if you want to have, a fulfilling relationship first with yourself. Because if you cannot find a relationship with yourself, you're going to be just like me until 49. I was just looking for love in all the wrong places. And I knew the theory, but there was something in me that wasn't ready. There was something in me that hadn't been broken enough or betrayed enough or ghosted enough to actually say, enough is enough. I am going to break this pattern. So when we go through the testimonials of the people that were in my class, and I only ran that class once, and I ran that class at a time that I was going through a lot of difficulties. I literally had a boyfriend break up with me during when I ran the class. So I felt like the biggest loser again. But of course, this specific person is a very beautiful person. I'm still in contact with him. I was conscious enough to not make it about him, but it was very painful because I was thinking, how can I be teaching this and still be creating this? Now, I understand where I was at that moment because I still wasn't far enough with integration of my anima animus, and that wasn't my life, the timeline that I was in, by the way. So if you go to the negative anima animus, that is the most difficult part. Yeah. Because imagine that your negative anima or animus in you, so the negative animus in women, is a harsh inner critic. She has a rigid belief system. She doesn't trust men. She is attracted to authoritarian or emotionally unavailable partners. Or people that are going to betray her or scam her, right? And so the protective shield that she carries is cynicism disguised as realism. Well, I was this. This was me. Even though I was doing the work, I was teaching this. This was still me. So I can tell you how much it costs to actually really do the inner work with your inner beloved, your inner partner. Yeah, the invisible partner in you. And the constellation work that I do, it is so accurate, it is so truthful, it is the people that are going to work with you, they are going to be entangled with you. You're all going to be healing each other. And every week you're going to be learning something about the animus, the anima, the shadow, the inner child, the love that is there for your wholeness. Yeah, because that is what we experience. So so why would we not want to heal the negative animus in ourselves as women, right? And for the men, the negative anima in men, you are emotionally unstable, you have romantic delusion, or you are always attracted to women who reject you, or women who are going to use you, or the gold diggers, or people that just want to climb the ladder using you. They never love you. You are just idealizing women, and then you meet the real woman, and then you devalue them. You feel like a victim. You feel unloved for who you are. You feel that you cannot be loved for who you really are. You feel the disloyalty of women, and you have obsession with fantasy women. You cannot even relate to a real woman. I mean, this is too painful, and we can't. You don't have to blame women for it. You can just take back your responsibility because that is your creative power. Yeah. And so, yeah, I try to find images for the negative masculine and negative feminine. So I could only think of a woman with a gun, so a woman that let's call it emasculates the masculine, right? She is defensive, or she is a witch, so she is like putting spells on you, and she has a lot of tricks up her sleeve, or the dark masculine that is here to kill, here to betray you, or the cold masculine, the masculine that is like a robot. He doesn't have feelings. He just, and a lot of us women, we have gone through this, which is it is, I think it's very fair to say that most women, when we end a relationship, the conscious women, it takes them quite a lot of time to actually heal, and men immediately jump into a new relationship. And I'm not saying all men do this, but quite a lot of men do this. And this has to do with different brain chemistry and different hormonal contents in men and women. Men and women are different, but we can perceive men as very heartless when they do this. But yeah, if I was a man, maybe I would do the same, right? And so I think, I try to find what is the unconscious negative in anima in my animus, and what is the unconscious negative of a negative anima. And I think, there's a lot of body of work out there to actually understand what in the feminine or masculine is hurting each other. And we need to be interested in it. We need to want to study it so that we're not just coming from a stance of going to a relationship to take and to use a person for our own gratification, but we see it as a road to mutual growth, mutual learning, and maybe even see the relationship as a container for inspiring the world. So, so yeah, um, of course, we don't have to project the negative, unconscious shadow parts onto each other. We have to own and do the inner work with our shadow, you know, the unconscious shadow that is the masculine part of us. This is a lot of the work that I did before I met my current husband. And I really will say, if I hadn't done it, I would not have been able to heal my panic attacks, heal my abandonment, anxious attachment style, all the stuff that is really difficult. I was inflicted by it, and I, from my birth on, carried that with me. So it was a healing journey of many decades, and maybe even many lifetimes. But I think this conscious shadow work with my animus was so important, because also the angels kept giving me dreams that I had to work with this. And it was just never my priority until I was really ghosted by a man that I really cared about. And I'm so grateful to this man for ghosting me, because I think, we had a soul contract that he was going to come at the right time. He was going to ghost me so that I would have to do the work so that I can now meet. Then, 6 months after I did the work, I met my husband, because Elle and I, my business partner, and we did the clearing work together. We had accountability. We did the manifestation processes together because we wanted to be the scientists in our lives. We proved it to ourselves that you can manifest soulmate love. It doesn't matter how wounded you are. And I feel that I'm the living testament of that. And then we actually, I really, so what I wanted to say is that it doesn't matter how much pain has been done to you, how much wounding you're carrying. You can also see it as, are you going to let that define you, or are you going to be defined by a vision of the future, as Dr. Joe would say? I decided that I was going to be the scientist in my life. I was not going to let the past define me. I was going to be a researcher and a scientist in the unconscious content of my psyche. I did all that healing work, and then I I became more whole. I became more integrated. And that is how I think I've manifested now a husband that is very conscious, that is very emotionally intelligent, that knows how to deal with the parts of me that are insecure, that still feel not good enough sometimes, that still feel she might be abandoned sometimes. So I really, really think, oh my God, what has happened? I have so much to be thankful for. So, but if I can do it, I definitely believe that other people can do it. So, um, yeah, so this really comes from the bottom of my heart. So, if you're wondering what is going on in my life, I would say your results in your love life provides all the clues about the love archetype identity in your life. So, when you're in divorce zone, you're in struggle, pain, and conflict. That means you're under 200. You're in the power zone when you are learning a lot of you're experiencing a lot of growth, but you still have a lot of lessons to learn. And I would say the four zone has four initiations, and these four initiations, they are not easy. They are quite difficult, and because I went through them, and a lot of people they don't know what the initiations are, and even when they know what they are, it's still they have to come up with a lot of resistance within them to protect them. Yeah. So, but if you master these initiations and you master yourself, you master your creativity and your creative power, you can definitely go into the receiving zone where you are guided and led by divine orchestration and synchronicities and your highest self and your angels guiding you, like it did with me. So, go to a part two if you want to know about the attraction mirror. And you can also see what Elle and I did to actually get out of the power zone and to step into the receiving zone. Yeah, soulmate is not somebody you attract through effort. You meet it when your inner state of being is a vibrational match to the consciousness of your soul's true identity. And a real soulmate is not somebody who will leave you. They're here, they have a soul contract with you to be there, to make your life easier. They're compatible with you. Love is mutual. It feels absolutely natural. It feels like coming home. You don't have to win it. And none of us are a vibrational match for soulmate love while operating from the consciousness of our wounds, patterns, personality, projections, splits in our archetypes. We can only attract, soulmate love from the frequency of our soul. And if we haven't done the work with our archetypes within, the lovers within, we cannot meet our soul. And so we cannot be a vibrational match to our own soul. And thus we cannot manifest a soulmate. That's what I believe. I can be wrong, of course, but I can say the people that I've seen that seem to have soulmate level love, of course, they have other challenges, but in the level of soulmate love and how they respond to each other and how they go through challenges, I can really say that I know now that it's a very different template than the template that I've seen from my own parents and from the culture that I come from. It's very, very different. And I can say, wow, it is such a breath of fresh air to be living in a soulmate level type of relationship. It is very, very, I wouldn't, I am so grateful that I took this journey and that I decided even when I was 49 that I was going to break this pattern. And because it was so painful, it was so painful to live in the fourth zone. So, if you want to know more and you do not want to live in the fourth zone anymore, shame, guilt, apathy, grief, fear, desire, anger, pride, if you don't want to do that anymore, uh, yeah, this is stuck again. I don't know why. You don't want to live here anymore. Let's see. I'm going to show you. Um, I cannot. Yeah, where is it? I have to go to this slide. Then you might be interested in this specific offer that I have, which is you want to learn more. I am going to be launching a membership in school, and yeah, it is only 88 euros per month, excluding VAT. And if you are outside of Europe, you don't even pay the VAT. So it's just 88 euros. Can cancel anytime. We will be going through 12 months of weekly classes and Q&As where you will learn a lot about this topic, about all the things that I know, all the things that I've learned, all the things that I've witnessed. It is really, it is combining the universal laws and let's say the archetypal work and the collective wisdom work that I do. And it is really for to help you become more and more aware. So you want to see your patterns without analyzing yourself to death. You want consistency, not just insight. And you want to stay in awareness between relationships, not only after heartbreak. So every 1 week, you get a new teaching and a new masterclass. You get a reflection or an awareness prompt so that you learn something. So you know about your attraction mirror, where you are, you know about chemistry, you know about inner lover or invisible partner dynamics. You will learn from each other, and there's a live Q&A. So that is this specific group. When I post a specific uh, what is it, recording, I will give the school platform link. So I want to share some of the testimonials of the Meeting the Lover Within class that I ran. So this is a client, and she says, my vision of the world is changing for good. I feel I have more resources, and I'm sure that at some point it will be clear to me how the inner changes are manifesting in the way I live my life. I feel more relaxed about uncertainty and misery and more freedom. Or is it mystery? I like the fact that this course works with energy so that not everything has to be understood and analyzed with the mindset. It is different from therapy because we look at what we want to create in life, not analyzing what I already know so well. Due to the work we did, I found myself changing my perspective of the past or feelings that were still unresolved. The course is a great combination of knowledge and wisdom, practical activities, meditations, and homework, which reinforces the rest of the work. I would recommend this course because it's empowering and helps you to grow, because it makes all of us recognize the responsibility for our own lives, learn from the past, and build our future. And of course, this course is about love. I totally trust Angelique. She knows what and when to do things that will work with us. The environment is safe. The environment is safe and relaxing. It is so easy to be part of it, and she is very positive and helpful. So this was one person. So this is another person, and she said, every week I look forward to the class. The classes are full of joy and enlightenment. I loved working with the group. It was such a safe, supportive, and caring environment. I felt more understood as we have so many things in common, and at the same time, there was a respect about our differences. I learned so much through interacting with the group. I enjoy the collective wisdom and personal constellations work because they work at different levels and provide enlightenment. It is easy to have breakthroughs. It is also fun, and you keep learning throughout the week, not only during the sessions. This course helped me so far to be more aware of my inner world. We work with archetypes and shadows, which was a new topic for me. I now learned how to own my vision of myself, and I feel more empowered to co-create the life I want. The course helped me to be positive, motivated, and clearer about what I want in my life, as well as feeling more capable of achieving it. I also feel things are shifting within me, and I feel this is going to have an impact of my life. I have more insight and acceptance of myself. So this is a client called Rochelle. Since attending Angelique's 3 month, this was completely constellation group, so that is not the 88 euros a month group work. This is another course. This is another 3 or 4 month group that I'm going to put together, Meeting the Lover Within. I can honestly say I had a huge wake-up call and discovered a great opportunity to renew my belief in higher love. Directly through her wise and eloquent guidance, I was able to bring to consciousness parts within me that had been asleep, making a true loving relationship out of reach. This is powerful, deep, and relationship enhancing group work. Angelique's intuition and skillful use of constellations has given me far greater clarity in how I act and present myself to men and the outer world. As a woman, my feminine side feels empowered with better emotional, spiritual, and creative tools to attract an inspired lover and soulmate. In identifying how our inner kingdom of king, queen, anima, animus, magician, warrior, wounded lover, and shadow operate, we can develop a more golden shadow. And a golden shadow is this integrated soul that we don't even we don't even recognize it. It's the parts of us that we put on a pedestal, the idealized part, but it's just wholeness. This promotes stronger self-love with irresistible personal attractiveness. It was so exciting to begin to realign inner energies within myself to achieve a more balanced persona. The most important wake-up call for me was that my entire relationship history was a complete reflection of my relationship to myself! Exclamation mark. Experiencing this within the field in the group was momentous. Since the class, I treat myself just exactly how I want to be treated by men. Now, the law of attraction is showing me amazing results. Angelique is a highly creative and dynamic light worker who works in a very imaginative way. She's also very encouraging of our own creative work. What I personally liked was her confident use of media, employed throughout, being very well researched and knowledgeable on the law of attraction within a Jungian framework. I also, of course, added the family constellations framework, and now I also work with the quantum, creating from the field teachings of Dr. Joe Dispenza and Bashar and Abraham Hicks and Greg Braden, Michael Bernard Beckwith, Science of Getting Rich, etc. Angelique was an inspiration for us to produce beautiful poetry, also creating her own inspirational teaching videos on the archetypes. Since the course just a month ago, my relationships really are improving daily. It feels like a return to innocence, fun, and my true self. I have a renewed vigor for life. It feels like the vibrational field around me and my life is so much more positive. Thank you so much, Angelique, for this complete life-changing and powerfully transformational course. So this was a course that had constellations every week, and it was a group course, and the course was around 2 hours per week, and it was very deep. And so this is why, people had so amazing results. This is another course that I will be running. And if you want to know more, look on the YouTube. I will have a link there so that you can apply for it. So this is actually Matt. Matt is such an amazing client and student. Well, what can I say? Before the workshop, I was in a kind of odd love triangle where I was giving a lot and not receiving anything back. Now, this has completely renegotiated itself in that I have set healthy boundaries. I realize that I no longer have to live the archetypal myth of not being chosen or loved, which was also the one that I was living, by the way. Having started my inner work with the lover within, I'm relating to my sexy, intelligent, happy, free Anima within who utterly loves and adores me. So he no longer believes that his Anima is rejecting him. He literally knows now that she absolutely loves and adores him. I'm no longer interested or unconsciously attracted to relationship dynamics that are completely one-sided. This was possible because of the Meeting the Lover Within course, and Angelique helped me identify this as an issue. Also, there was the emergence of an extremely powerful part of my shadow and his transmutation into the handsome, charming, and charismatic magician. I also realize now that I've always projected my golden shadow onto men in the outer world. So he was always feeling that other men were better than him and that he was also always not chosen. And this is such a painful dynamic. This was the dynamic that I was living, the ugly duckling dynamic, or the Phantom of the Opera, where you are the phantom, rejected and excluded and cast out by the world. Of course, it's not true, but this is how you live these relationship dynamics, and you keep repeating it. In general, I feel more grounded and more present in the moment. I have learned that my masculinity was not the problem. Please, if I become more masculine, I would be a caveman, literally, which is true. He's very masculine, and that I have learned to embrace my femininity. It feels like my unconscious mind didn't know what to do with all the emotional, psychological, and spiritual work I have done over the last few years about women and relationships. Now, after the Meeting the Lover Within course, something has clicked, and my mind has signposts of what to do with all the work I've done. I now have a benchmark and yardstick for what I want to achieve. Plus, I met a lovely group of conscious people. So this was Matt. This was another man. For some reason, I attracted a lot of men into the class. So from theory to life-changing practice. When I first learned about Angelique, I knew I had found someone trustworthy to translate valuable analytical theory into practice for helping me stepping out of my set patterns and growing to become who I am. Arguably, I have been ready for some time, but I was lacking the right tools to manifest in the outer world my inner goals and desires. Angelique's course description and her open approach resonated so strongly with me inside that my brain said it sounded too good to be true. Today, I'm happy to say that I've been having important breakthroughs since the first course session, thanks to Angelique's competent and supportive guidance and her ability to apply her solid knowledge and strong intuition for achieving one's purposes. Most of all, she manages to create a constructive and inspiring consensus in a group because she treats everyone as equal and everyone gets to have their special moments. Her courses require active participation and offer groundbreaking rewards. This is talking about the Meeting the Lover Within course, it does require active participation, and it costs more than 88 euros per month as well because you have to apply and then we see whether you fit into the group. I have been able to recognize and overcome my biggest mental obstacles and have found productive relief from my past suffering, from substantial family issues and my own unrealistic expectations in my love life. Those shifts in consciousness that seemed like a fantasy became real, and now I do have the wonderful confidence to be who I am. I highly recommend Angelique's natural talents as inner wisdom coach for self-discovery and personal development. So this was Sven, beautiful Sven. And yeah, Karen, your task is not to seek for love, but merely to seek and find all the barriers within yourself that you have built against it. From Rumi. I think this quote sums up the course for me, finding the archetypes who have built the barriers and working with them to take them down. So this is another person from the United Kingdom because this course was in London. Extraordinary transformation through collective wisdom. I have done quite a few courses and workshops with Angelique previously and undergone huge transformations in the process. This was a 10-week Meeting the Lover Within course. I think the next one is probably 12 to really help people integrate. It is a different kind of impact with all the knowledge Angelique has acquired in her long years of study. She amalgamates this with boundless creativity, integrity, and intuition into a fun, insightful, and transformational course whose group dynamic is second to none. Angelique has the gift to attract committed students willing to grow individually and with the group to make this course truly extraordinary. She works with miracles, angelic energy, and the collective wisdom to guide us to the desired outcome or to something even better. And she succeeds every time! Exclamation mark. Angelique is passionate about her students' development and mindful about everyone's individuality and integrity. She has the trust of the entire group and surprises us with her creative gifts to propel us even further in our development and growth. Angelique is an integral part of my personal development, and I am eternally grateful to her for supporting me on my journey. Due to her work, I have gained enormous clarity, peace, love, and prosperity in all areas of my life. I cannot recommend her highly enough to anyone wanting to grow and discover their true potential. So, so this is somebody who came to my retreat, which was in beautiful Ibiza. He was a COO and he really loved it. Um, so this was another one. This was for my retreat also in Ibiza. So this was Mining the Golden Shadow um, testimonial. So this is a testimony from Jack. This course has been amazing. I have learned an incredible amount of different things and underwent an impressive transformation in such a short time period. A better understanding of the different elements in our mind, how different archetypes are leading the way we think and influence the priorities we set in life. A better understanding of what dysfunctional elements we are creating ourselves in relationships and how to prevent this from happening. During this course, I dealt with numerous personal issues that got resolved. Constellations were held that gave me insight into undetected wounds that subsequently got healed. Also, constellations gave insight in what areas further to develop. Although I have not met the right partner yet, a substantial shift has happened in terms of meeting nicer potential partners. Also, when meeting potential partners, I know better what I want out of the relationship. I would recommend this course to anybody who has certain relationship-based issues and who doesn't have them, or who is interested in better understanding him or herself. And it's from beautiful Ben, and he says, a journey worth every investment. The Meeting the Lover Within course is worth every penny you pay. I had insights into how I relate to myself and the world around me that spared me literally years, three exclamation marks of soul seeking. The constellations were extremely revealing and spot on every time. Often, while I was in somebody else's constellation, the issue that came up were just as relevant for my own development. Angelique is not only a professional workshop leader, she also walks her talk and openly shares about her own journey with the group. True leadership, 21st century style. Yeah, so I will add the link to apply for this Meeting the Lovers Within course, but of course you can also just join the monthly membership. And I hope that this was very insightful. I hope that you learned a lot. And yeah, when I upload the video, you can find the link to join the school community. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to contact me. Thank you so much for your time. Lots of love, everybody.